Now we have Maria Lotishvili, and she's going to talk about the food that we eat. Food, very important, as you know, especially if you don't have any. And there are claims, of course, in the world that there are places where there is no food, or not enough food. So, without me saying too much about it, let's hear what Maria has to say.
Hello. Do you know what you eat? Are you sure about the quality of your food? Well, I'm not sure. This is exactly why I have decided to conduct a research about genetically modified products. The fact that our diet does not consist only of organic food, but genetically modified products as well, should make us more interested in what we eat. It is our right and responsibility to have a clear image of the content of our diet. Everyone should be informed about the potential consequences of consuming GMOs. Each and every of you, no matter what age you are, children, teenagers, adults, everyone should be informed about the food they consume. Over the past 40 years, the world population has nearly doubled, while the land available for agriculture has increased only by 10%. So, how has it been possible to feed so many people with a marginal increase in available land? So, most of that improved productivity has been dependent on crossbreeding methods developed hundreds of years ago to provide plant and animals with specific traits. However, there has been a revolution in agriculture, and today we can develop new, more productive crops by means of genetic engineering. In order to better understand what genetically modified foods are, we should first consider the field of genetic engineering. To put it very simply, genetic engineering is about the transferring of new foreign genes into the species of interest. In this particular case, plants are the species of interest. This is why they are called transgenic plants, because new foreign genes have been introduced in them. So, why is it so valuable to transfer genes? So, as we know, DNA is the genetic material which defines everything about an organism. By inserting parts of DNA, which are called genes, into an organism, we can create an organism with desirable traits. So, do we go against nature? Yes, we do. What would be the potential consequences of GMOs? Some of the genetically modified organisms are cotton, rice, corn, tomatoes, Canadian oil, which is called canola, and potatoes. I would like to underline cotton. So, since we do not consume cotton, I do not see any harm to genetically modify it. On the contrary, since the needs of clothing industry are rising, this is a good way to respond to the challenge. Okay, now let's consider the pros and cons of genetically modified organisms. First of all, one of the first and most important advantages of genetically modified organisms are that they can be maintained for a long time. That is, they have an improved shelf life. Secondly, genetically modified plants are resistant to pathogens, viruses, bacteria, in contrast with conventional foods, conventional plants, which can experience a damage by foreigner factors. Not only genetically modified plants are resistant to pathogens, but herbicides and pests as well. So farmers do not have to pay money on chemicals, while they already have plants which are resistant to dangerous pests and herbicides. Another important advantage of GMOs is that they are valuable in nutrition. A good example of this is the golden rice. So, according to statistics, 500,000 children will eventually become blind because of deficiency in vitamin A. So, in this case, golden rice is very valuable in vitamin A. So, we can clearly see the advantage of GMOs in this case. What is more, By GMOs, we can produce useful byproducts, that is, biodegradable plastics, pharmaceuticals, and many other stuff. Also, I should mention that scientists have achieved to create some weeds which can absorb toxins which are dangerous in the environment. So here again we see how GMOs help the environment. And last but not least, GMOs are strictly regulated by agencies and committees. Now let's move on and see what are the cons of genetically modified organisms. So, genetically modified plants may transfer their genes into unrelated species, and these species eventually may outcross other organisms. So this balance could be created in the nature. What is more, the pollen from beating maize, that is genetically modified corn, is dangerous to monarchical plants. Also, the genetic transfer from plants to microorganisms could be very dangerous as well. Now, we all know that genes code for proteins. So, if we insert new genes into organisms, it means that it provides us with new genes. So, are these proteins? So, are these proteins harmful or harmless to humans? The possibility that allergic reactions could arise to a new protein is not out of the question. What is more, genetically modified plants have antibiotic resistance genes. So when we consume these genetically modified plants, our bacteria in the gut during digestion absorb these genes. So maybe if we get sick by these bacteria, it will be very difficult for doctors to treat. And the last, genetically modified organisms, GMO companies prohibit research on their products, which is quite a suspicious attitude. Now, let's consider very briefly how these GMOs reach our market. So, companies must produce genetically modified seeds. These seeds then are distributed, sold to farmers, which by these seeds produce genetically modified plants, crops. And then these plants reach our market. I forgot to tell you something. So, ask your opinion. Since we have considered the pros and cons of genetically modified organisms, what do you think? How many of you are in favor of GMOs? Please raise your hands. Okay. And how many of you are against GMOs? Okay. So here are some companies that make genetically modified organisms: Monsanto, Syngenta, and DuPont company, and there are some committees also that regulate these companies. Next. So, recently there has been a scandal about corn produced by the Monsanto company. When French scientists fed this corn on rats, these rats suffered from tumors and kidney and liver damage. However, there is another side in this story. Some scientists claim that the rats used in this experiment were naturally prone to develop tumors. So, yet we do not know which side is correct. I believe that the potential consequences will unravel the truth. Now, some interesting information about the history of genetically modified organisms. In 1982, the first genetically modified plant was tobacco. In 1992, China was the first country to accept genetically modified organisms. In 1994, the so-called flavor-saver tomatoes were produced and accepted by law in USA. In 2000, the golden rice, which is valuable in vitamin A, was produced. In 2012, the non-browning Arctic apples were produced, and by the statistics of 2013, 85% of corn, 91% of soybeans, and 88% of cotton in USA is genetically modified. Now, some countries and regions that have banned GMOs are three California counties, South Australia, Japan, New Zealand, Germany has only banned in maize, Ireland, Greece, Bulgaria, France has only banned Monsanto's corn, Switzerland, the autonomous Portuguese island Madeira, and Austria, Hungary, and Luxembourg. Now, it is very important that the fact that 65% of the medicine is produced by genetically modified bacteria. And also, genetically modified sheep produce milk rich in blood clotting factor, which is very beneficial. Now, the time has arrived to, by your own self, consider, by your own self judge whether you are in favor or against GMOs. I personally believe that from one perspective, since science does not have a clear answer about the potential consequences of GMOs, we should be maybe prudent and careful about these products. I personally believe that maybe if we have the necessary needs, we can only eat bio products. However, we saw that, for example, cotton, which is very valuable for industries, is genetically modified. So this is another perspective of GMOs. Okay, thank you.